Thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully, you're doing well, you're staying safe and healthy, you're doing what you need to do in order to take care of yourself. And definitely, one way you take care of yourself is to show up for yourself on your yoga mat. And I am so happy to lead you in this session. So, find that comfortable seat. Oh, wait, before we do that, let's talk about what you need. Of course, it's always the same, but if it's your first time joining, you need at least as much space as a yoga mat. I've got a cushion. I've got some yoga blocks. I've also got something to drink to keep myself hydrated. So make sure you have all of the things you need. And then when you're ready, start to settle in on your breath, taking time to unhook from the world, trying to find that place of stillness and peace. So that means unhooking from all the things, or as much as you can, from what is going on in your life. If it's comfortable to have your eyes closed, let your eyes be closed. If not, they're not really focused on anything, just a slight gaze a few feet in front of you. And you're letting that breath get fuller and deeper. And that simple act of settling in, paying attention, starts to deepen the breath. And that starts to make that blood richer with oxygen. And this is where then you condition your body to support you. This is how your body repairs. So breathe either through your nose or your mouth, or a combination of your nose and mouth. If it's comfortable, to place the tip of your tongue right behind your upper teeth. And when you're ready, start to build that 3-part yoga breath. So you're going to fill up on the inhale and send the breath down to the lower third of your lungs, then fill the middle third, then fill the upper third. And then when you exhale, you release the upper third, then the middle third, then the lower third. Right away, you're being kind, compassionate, loving with yourself, treating yourself like a true friend, really trying to recognize those patterns, especially those patterns of self-talk where you are not very nice to yourself. There's no reason to not be nice to yourself. In fact, you should be nice to yourself. Should. That's really kind of one of those loaded words as well. But treating yourself like an asshole really doesn't help to really cultivate or nourish anything. Let that breath be full and deep, and start to do your 3-part yoga breath. This is where, as you fill up that lower third of your lungs, you press your navel, your belly into the space in front of you. When the middle third fills up, feel those ribs move up and apart. And then the breath goes into the upper third. Feel the heart move up in the chest. And then when you exhale, heart and chest relax, ribs move down and together. And then you pull that navel back and up into your body. And feel free. In fact, I encourage you to move around, especially if you start to feel tingly or your legs really start to feel uncomfortable. Make sure that you are comfortable. And then keeping that breath full and deep as you inhale, really feel heavy and weighted down as you maybe bring a squeeze to your glutes, press your knees away, flex your feet so you feel even more support. and recognize how it's all coming from within. You're gently pulling that tail down and lifting that lower belly. You're pulling that clock. Your navel is 12, your pubic bone is 6, and your hip flexors are 9 and 3, and it's in a level place. And then think navel dimples down, solid base, navel dimples up on your next exhale. Lift yourself out of that place of support. Stretch yourself into all that space that you are meant to take up. You not only get the space that your body fills up, but you also, right, that 3 feet around you is all yours, right? No one can come within that 3 feet without your consent. So really try to take up all that space, stretch yourself out, and feel how awesome that feels. So not only are you pressing down and lifting up, getting that north-south, but you're also pressing east-west, right-left. Feel that heart lift, so the upper body, the front body lifts, the shoulders come out of your ears, and you pull those blades so they tuck in. They're not pinched together. So start to see how that front body and that upper body lifts you up, and then that back body and that lower body keeps you tethered and grounded. And you're always looking to cultivate both of those things at the same time. It's not one or the other. It is both at the same time. Keep with that breath full and deep. Hopefully this practice keeps you connected and reveals to you how you are so powerful. And you have then also the potential for more. And it's all coming from within. Not only is that power and that potential, but then that, right, that rooting in, that stable ground beneath your feet is coming from within, and then that lift and that stretch into the space around you and going into that next thing is coming from within. Let the breath be full and deep. And then let your arms reach wide. Try to keep those shoulder girdles engaged. Try to keep those hip girdles engaged as well. Bring those hands up above your head and pull down into your heart center. A couple more times just to seal in all that good juju we just worked up in that centering, and start to waken up the body. Your eyes can be open or closed. We're going to do this a few times. Inhaling and exhaling. And then let yourself pause, and then let yourself unwind, because we have been seated this way for a little bit. And so a little windshield wiper back and forth. You're not putting all the weight on your limbs. You're keeping yourself lifted. I already did a drink. You're keeping yourself lifted out of your limbs. Dropping those knees side to side. And then find yourself back in that comfortable position. If you can remember what foot was in front or on top, try to go the opposite. And of course my blocks are super far away, so I have to get back up and get them. So it might be a good place for blocks to the side, but first, before you reach to the side, we're going to reach up above like we already did, and then we're going to twist to the left. So the right hand's going to come to the left knee, and this isn't going to be a big fast move. We're going to pause, right hand on that left knee, stay twisted, let that left arm lift and reach, and then bring that left arm to that right knee, and then bring yourself in between those legs and those arms and feel that stretch. And then let yourself release, and then it's all about the other side. So you're staying twisted, and then you're bringing your body back around. If this at all does not feel good on like your shoulders or your low back or any part of your back, right? If there's pain, that's not what you want. I definitely want to push you towards sensation because that is what helps you grow. So you're making these twisty reach moves. There's no official yoga name. And then after a couple, and when you're done, you're just going to pause. Hands can rest anywhere at your heart, belly, one of each, out to the side, doesn't matter. Breathing full and deep. And then make sure that your legs are comfortable. And the wider part of your legs, the wider or the further your legs are, like they don't have to be so tucked in near you. The further they're out, then the more of a base you have. So you are then more stable. So then if you like that support, have those blocks to the sides, right? Maybe out of your hips. And then once again, lift those arms. And now we're going to stretch side to side. And it doesn't matter which side you start with. We're going to move side to side. Staying with that breath. Staying with that anchoring in, that rooting down, feeling both of your bottom, both your butt cheeks, buttocks, and all your legs, the part of your leg that's closest to the floor, feeling it heavy on the floor. Pause. I've got my right hand down on that block. I'm not bringing myself all the way to the floor. I'm using that block in order to stay lifted so I get that length, not only on that side that's reaching up, but that side that's going towards the floor. Stay rotating the heart and the navel up to the sky. Pull those blades down so it supports. Feel those dimples engage, and then let that left arm or whatever arm you got in the sky start to make those big circles. Keep breathing. Pay attention to what your head's doing. Try to keep pulling the crown of your head to where the wall and the ceiling meet. Let those arms go in the opposite direction. We're going to pause in between this, so of course remember which arm you lifted up and moved. We're going to lift into that upright position. Let your hands make their way to wherever feel good and just notice how you feel. Since we paused and lifted and reached that one side, and then move side to side a couple times. Use that support, or if you don't use that support of the block, you're still staying lifted. So you get that lift on both sides. And now you're going to pause with that other side. Same things though. You are thinking about that heart and that navel, and you're trying to rotate it. You're thinking about your shoulder blades and your dimples. You're trying to rotate them down. Keep those shoulder girdles engaged as much as feels good, and let that right arm move around. It's moving in that ball and socket. You're keeping your elbows soft. You're keeping your wrists and your fingers nice and soft. Let that arm move in all the directions. Feel that stretch down your back. Keep pressing down with your whole self. Really feel those buttocks be heavy, and then lift coming into, and of course if you want to keep moving side to side, but if you just want to pause, notice how you feel, breathing full and deep, navel, ribs, chest, exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. And then bring yourself over onto those hands and knees, finding that child's pose. Please bring some cushion down for your knees if it would be helpful. I always have cushion for my knees. It just helps to hold in the pose and do a little bit longer than I would be if I didn't have my knees protected. All right, you're pressing yourself back in your child. You've walked your legs as wide apart as feels good. You're reaching your arms forward. I've got my hands, actually I've got my forearms on blocks. This is big, so you don't by any means have to use the blocks like I am using them. But this is a wonderful stretch in this child's pose. Even though we're resting, you are still engaged and active, and you are pressing down and back with your whole self. And you're also reaching up and forward with your whole self, always trying to find both inhaling and exhaling. And then after a few breaths, lift yourself into that stable table. So this is where those hands make their way underneath those shoulders. You bring those hips underneath, or those knees underneath those hips. So start to build that solid base. Don't hyperextend those elbows. Keep them nice and loose. You can even bring the back part of your hand up, the palm, bring up the wrist side of your palm up, and really engage that knuckle sandwich knuckle and all those fingers, and then gently bring that wrist down so you feel, and maybe hopefully you feel that little bit of engagement and that lift right there. And then move through that baby cat and cow with that lower back. So you are pulling, you're engaging those glutes and pulling that tail down and lifting the lower belly up so you get that solid base. And then you're doing that little baby cat and cow with the upper body so you get that shoulder girdle engaged. And then you are starting the cat and cow in that middle back. Inhale and exhale. I think cat and cow just feels so much better if you do all that engagement. But you can be like, I don't like the engagement, like it's too much. And please honor yourself. But as much as you can in order to feel stable, that's what you're trying to do, is you're trying to stabilize in those girdles, and then feel that ooey gooey center move, and you get the move more in that middle back, that thoracic spine. All right, pause in your table. Let yourself walk those knees apart again, and then let yourself come back into a child. And you can, of course, bring those arms in any place that feels good, like back by your feet sometimes feels good, letting yourself round down. And I know I bring a lot of awareness just to your front body, but you breathe three-dimensionally. So here is a great place in a child to feel yourself really expand those lungs, not just to the front, but also to the back and the sides. And then lift yourself up. Make sure you're in that stable table. So that is pressing evenly between both arms, both legs, finding that place of support. So you're doing that that engagement with the lower girdle, that engagement with the upper girdle, and then you're holding yourself with that nice stable back. And then send that right leg back. Keep those hips even. Keep that right ball on the floor. So you're not, the toes are getting a wonderful stretch, but you're trying to go more for the ball. Keep the kneecaps pulled, especially that right kneecap that's back there pulled. And you can see I am doing this little rocking over those arms just to bring the weight of my body. Inhale and exhale, breathing full and deep. Now, here's where I'm going to turn this way because it'll be easier. I've still got that leg back, and I'm engaged in that table. I'm going to lift that right heel and then bend that right knee and bring it towards that right arm. Stay lifted up off that the floor. Try to keep lifting up off that left leg. You can take a gander to make sure the foot and the knee are in the same plane, and don't dip down on that left side. Inhale and exhale. Breathing full and deep. I'm doing a few pulses. You can also do some circles. And then when you feel complete, press it back. Keep those hips even so that right hip is not popping up. Bring that left arm forward. If you don't want to come into the spinal balance, you don't have to. We're going to bend that right knee. Don't strain yourself, but reach for that foot as much as feels good. Keep trying to bring the sole of that foot up, and then let yourself come wide. And here's where we're going to rest. We're going to take a break in between. Now we held ourselves on that right arm for quite a while. That propped us up for quite a while. So if you feel it in your wrist, you're always being gentle with your wrists, inhaling and exhaling. And then when you feel complete, once again, press yourself up into that table. Make sure you are in that stable table, sending those left legs back, keeping that trunk in that that stable back position, neutral. You're in that pelvic neutral and shoulder neutral in order to stay in that supported position. And as you're moving, you're holding yourself, grounding into yourself, letting the body come over those arms, keeping those shoulders out of your ears, and then pause. Let that left heel come up. Stay lifted. Bend that left knee. Bring it towards your left arm. Stay lifted up that right side. Don't dip down. Here's where the foot is in the same plane. I know these are like so hard, but they're so good. I'm making some circles. You can also do pulses. Couple more breaths, and then press back to get that length. Only if it feels good. Lift that opposite limb. Breathing full and deep, and then only if it feels good. I don't want you to strain too much. Reach for that. You don't even have to reach the foot. And then bring yourself down. Rest completely in that child, taking a few big deep breaths, inhaling and exhaling. Remember to get drinks as you need them. We're going to be on our knees for a little bit more. I don't even know if we're going to come up on our feet. I think I'm going to keep this pretty gentle. We're going to come into a little knee down warrior series. So come into that table. Blocks are great here. Right leg comes up between those hands, those blocks. Keep that left knee underneath that left hip. And your right foot and left knee are on railroad tracks to start with, and you've got that 90-degree angle as your belly's on the inside of that right thigh. Inhaling and exhaling. Make sure you find the ball of your right foot and the heel of your right foot. You can have your left toes curls if that helps you. Keep pulling that tail down as you walk up, and as you lift then your front body and ground down that back body. Keep engaging that left glute and stay lifted. I'm starting to kind of fall one way, so I'm going to walk that right foot over just a little bit more. So I widen my stance in order to help me keep with that balance. Inhale and exhale. If it does not feel good to you to bring your arms up, please don't. Keep them at your heart. We're just doing that lift to then bring the arms out. That's what I wanted to do. Bring the arms out. Stay lifted. Keep your navel pointed in the same right, in like the inside of that right knee. Lift your heart and twist towards the right. Inhaling and exhaling. You're not really reaching forward. You're not twisting your whole, at your lower waist. I want you to think more of that middle back. You might not twist as much. That's okay. Keep that right shoulder engaged. That right elbow is not hurt. And then bring yourself back. Hands come to your hips in order to help you with the movement. We're going to bring those hands down in order to help too, if that helps. And we're going to start to, and I'm going to move that right foot a little bit forward so I got a little bit more room. So now I'm bringing my hips forward, still trying to keep that 90-degree angle of that front leg. So now I'm lengthening that back thigh. Inhale and exhale. Still feel a little pinch in my right buttocks because that's where I'm engaging that from the inside. And remember, you're always in charge of that engagement. Use those blocks to stay lifted. And then lift yourself again into that more lifted, supported position. I'm going to bring that right foot back. And now I'm going to rotate on that back left knee. I'm going to bring that lower left leg to the back of my space. And now bring that right foot so it is more in front. I've got the ball and the heel down. That heel is lined up with my knee as I rotate into that knee down warrior two. So it's still not a reach forward, it's a lift up. Make sure you've got that 90-degree. Keep engaging so you're pulling that tail down and you are lifting those hip flexors. Make sure that knee is protected. Breathing full and deep. Navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully. Chest, ribs, navel. Flip that palm. We're going to come into that reverse knee down warrior two. So that is left hand down your side. Reach that right side. So think about trying to lift. Don't lose that lunge position. And then back into that warrior two to come into that side angle. So if you want to come down to a block, you of course can. I like to come into the inside and then try to rotate navel heart up to the sky. Keep that nice 90-degree angle. That left arm is up. Let a few big circles happen there. And then just take that left arm where your wristwatch is, go for right between your dimples. You do not have to reach all the way to that other leg. I do not want you to strain yourself. In fact, I don't want you just to move your left shoulder back. I want you to move your trunk as a unit. I want you to feel it lift and rotate a little bit more. Keep dropping that tail. Keep lifting that heart. And then you're going to bring yourself back around to face the short edge of your space, bringing that back leg so it's back behind you, bringing that right knee so it's back behind you, and then pressing yourself back into a child. And of course, if you want to lift to a downward dog at any time, you of course can. Stay with your breath, navel, ribs, chest. Exhale fully, chest, ribs, navel. Hopefully you can feel how your trunk, especially that lower girdle, was helping to stabilize you. You feel it more on your knees than you do standing, or it's a little bit more easily accessible to feel it on your knees because you're closer to the ground. Your center of gravity is then closer to the ground, and you don't have as much to think about. All right, I'm just turning so I can stay facing you. We came up. I can feel it in that right butt cheek that we just really moved around. So now let's try to make it even. We brought that left foot up between our hands now. The blocks, doesn't matter. We're making sure that we're stable. Right knee underneath right hip. Make sure that your knee is right underneath that hip. Make sure that you are finding that 90-degree of that knee and ankle. So it's always in line and you are finding that balance right between the ball and the heel and then lifting yourself up. And if it doesn't feel good to bring your arms, you can also do, if you bring your arms up, you can also do steeple. You can just reach. You can also do this goal post and lift that heart. Drop that tail. Inhale and exhale. Make sure you feel stable. Keep that navel pointing right there on the inside of that left knee. Lift that heart. pull those blades down and then rotate towards that left leg. You might not twist as much. Keep those hips square. Inhale and exhale. You are rooting down and grounding, and then bring yourself back around. Remember, hands can be wherever support you as you bring that left foot over a little bit, and then, we came forward first. I almost forgot. I walk that left foot a little bit forward first, and then let my hips come down in between. So now my hip is not over that knee, and I'm getting that nice length on that right hip flexor, keeping that left in that 90-degree angle and those balls and heels active. And then I'm going to lift, coming back with my hips right over that knee. Use the blocks to help you lift. The blocks totally help you lift. Bring that right foot then to the back of your space, and then you are lifting to open into that warrior two. And it might take a moment to find that place of support, letting that left foot come to where it supports you. Remember, you are keeping that knee at that 90-degree angle. You are pulling those hips down, and you are engaging that hip flexor. So your right side is the stabilizer, your left side is the mobilizer. Everything's still working, lifting those arms. So you lift up into your knee down warrior two to come into that reverse knee down warrior two. Breathe full and deep. You don't have to tip all the way to the right. You are just tipping a little bit. Stay lifted. Stay grounded. You're always trying to do both. Back into that knee down warrior two to come into that knee down side angle. So you can bring that left side down to then lift that right side maybe a little bit higher, and think about trying to lift, right, not just the arm, but the trunk, the whole body. And then let a few big circles happen. Rotating. And then here's where you take, if your wristwatch was on your right hand, you're taking that to your dimples. Once again, I do not want you to strain. And I want you to not just think about your right shoulder. I want you to think about your trunk as a unit and try to lift and rotate the front body up to the sky, and then also try to rotate and ground the back body to the floor. Your gaze is wherever feels comfortable, trying to keep that neck long, and then lift that right arm to help lift you up, and then take your time coming back into that kneeling position to press back into that child's pose, breathing full and deep, letting yourself completely reset. Navel, ribs, chest, exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. And then stay with that breath. We'll come into pigeon posture on that right side. Make sure that you are supporting yourself using a blanket. If you want to play around with a little split beforehand, you're always protecting yourself. Letting that, I'm going to come on the right leg first. Or bend that right leg in front. You, of course, can always start with the left side in front. Stay lifted. If you do the split, you're protecting yourself. You're keeping your knees protected. And then when you're ready to come into the pigeon, and if you do not prefer pigeon this way, of course, you can come onto your back and do that pigeon pose where you're in that bridge position and then bring the ankle to the knee. You can also do this seated in fire log or double pigeon. Try to keep those hips square over the mat. This is more of a gentle pinch on that right side. Feel the top of that left leg, not the inside, not the outside, but the top. I want you to feel where your navel is and try to bring it to right above, it's hovering above the mat. Your heart is hovering above the mat. Inhaling and exhaling. There's no strain in your low back. If there is, then you might need to bring your stance not so deep. And let those breaths be full and deep. Keep trying to square your front body to the mat. Keep trying to square your back body to the ceiling. Inhaling and exhaling. If you're in this pigeon posture, where this upright one, and you're all the way down, lift yourself. We're going to come back. You can curl those back toes, bring that left leg. We're going to bring that up, and we're going to bring that right leg back. Resting in that child, of course. Just because I am not pushing into downward dog does not mean that it's never on the table. If you are feeling downward dog, please do it. Breathing full and deep. If you want to move through some cat and cow, if you are on your back, do some windshield wipers. If you are seated, do some rocking with those legs. And then you are going to move to the other side. And if you want to practice that split, take your time. Set yourself up. So I bring that leg forward, but it's not even really resting on the ground. It looks like it is, but it's really not. It's kind of lifted, and then so I'm not putting a lot of weight on that front leg. I can slide it forward. Woo! To bring those hips down in between. Inhaling and exhaling. I'm trying to keep those hips square. Stay with your breath. That's a big stretch. You never have to do it. But if you do it, make sure you always feel supported from within. Like your legs are never out of control. And that's really easy to do. And then that left leg is coming underneath you. If you're doing that pigeon, that upright pigeon, you're trying to square navel and heart with the front of your space. You're trying to square blades and dimples with the back of your space, letting yourself come forward to that lengthening over. If you're on your back or seated, you're breathing through the sensation. If you are in the same position as me, you are breathing through this sensation. Inhaling and exhaling. Staying with your breath and how you feel. Keeping those shoulders out of your ears. Feel the back right leg. The top of the leg on the floor, not the inside, not the outside. And then from this position, lift up. You can pull back into child. We're going to come to a seat next. You could always jump down and pull that leg around. That works. If you're laying down, pull yourself back up to that seated position, finding that comfortable seat. And it might be helpful to face the long edge just to have that point of reference as you bring those legs in that wide forward fold position. And the blocks are wonderful here. And I want you to really feel yourself hinge over those legs. That's what you're practicing here, is the hinge. You're trying to keep your whole trunk nice and long. You don't have to bring your arms up. If you just want to use the blocks to hinge yourself forward, we're going to be here for a few breaths. Keep pressing through those heels so you get that length down the legs. Keep pulling those kneecaps up into those thighs. You might feel a lot of sensation down your back body as long as there's no real pain, right? Sensation, being uncomfortable, that is helping you get stronger. So breathe through it. We're not going to be here forever. Protect yourself though while we're here. Inhaling and exhaling. And then lift yourself up. Take your time. Pull that left leg, that left foot into your middle. So now you've got that right leg extended. You've got that left leg bent in front of you. The left sole of the foot is kind of near that right thigh maybe. Try to keep both those glutes down and using the blocks or not. Reach down that right leg to have that nice side stretch again. Inhaling and exhaling. I'm always flexing both my feet, trying to rotate that navel and that heart together as a unit up to the sky. Breathing full and deep. Lift yourself. Arms come up. Try to lift your whole self then, and then rotate over that right leg as you reach for another stretch. Inhaling and exhaling. So you just move into a little bit different place. And then lift yourself up. Take your time. If you need to move through any sort of reset posture, do that. Otherwise, you're bringing that left leg out. Tucking that right leg in, finding that solid base, breathing full and deep, always trying to find that stable support by rooting down with that back and lower body, no matter what position you're in. And then when you have that stable solid ground, lift and reach with that upper and front body. Let the left arm sneak down that left leg and then open up that side body so you are getting that beautiful stretch down your right side, but try to stay lifted so you get that same lengthening happening on both sides of the body. Inhale and exhale. And you are using, I can't remember if we made circles. If we did, go for it. But I do know I talked about, I don't think we did. I do know we talked about rotating the unit, heart and navel up to the sky. Blades and dimples down to the floor. Lift yourself and then rotate navel, or heart and navel over that left leg. And then reach over that left leg for that stretch. You're still trying to press that right glute down as you reach those arms. Inhaling and exhaling, stay with your breath. You're filling up navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. And then let those legs extend and maybe do a little shakeout. And of course, a little windshield wiper always feels good. You want to come to your back and do that engagement on your back where you're finding that pelvic neutral. I always like to make a little pillow. It's just to keep my neck nice and long. I'm always gently got like a tuck of my chin. You know that game they used to play with the apple, right? Or the orange tucked in there. And then you were passing. You're always kind of, and I know it kind of sometimes makes that double chin, but it is so much more supported. Feel heavy. Find that pelvic neutral. Let yourself move however feels good, whether it be those windshield wipers back and forth, and you're in charge of how close your feet are. Keep pressing your glutes as you rock side to side. Keep those glutes heavy so they don't come off the mat. Let your legs lift. If your glutes lift, then bring those feet down, or if this hurts your low back, bring those feet back down. Rock, circle your arms or wherever. Now, you can have your feet on the floor, or if you want a little bit more engagement, keep your feet up, your glutes heavy. Your glutes are heavy if your feet are on the floor too. We're going to start in that neutral position with those knees right above those hips and then rotate to one side. Try to keep that opposite shoulder connected. So back and forth. And so yeah, this can be knee down and you're just dropping those knees to one side, keeping that shoulder connected. You're in charge of how wide apart your legs are. You're going to get different sensations. And then pause, inhaling and exhaling, finding that place of support where you're pressing your whole body into the mat. So feel yourself engage. Try to gently engage those shoulder blades. Try to pull your collarbone apart so you feel that length. Inhaling and exhaling. You've got that tail pulled into that pelvis pulled into that place of support. Walk those feet so they are just hip distance apart and right by your glutes, hands down by your sides. Keep the girdles engaged. Lower and lift a few times. So make sure you've got those balls engaged, not your toes. If you want to pause in your bridge, roll those shoulders under, you can. You can also just lower and lift. And then bring down, decide how you want to reset, rock, circle, whatever feels good. If you want to curl up and hug into a great big little ball of yourself, and then let yourself release and come down into your relaxation posture. Let your legs extend down your mat. Let your arms be down, kind of at an angle down by your side, and just breathe full and deep and let your eyes close. And if you've got enough time, let yourself be in that relaxation posture for 7 to 8 minutes if you've got it. Maybe only 5 minutes. If you'd rather sit up in a meditation, then sit in meditation 5, 7, 8, 10, 15 minutes. You have worked up all of this wonderful energy, and now if you take the time to let it settle into your muscle memory, it is just going to make you stronger. It's going to make you more resilient, and you're going to be able to get through whatever life throws at you. So thank you so much for joining me. Take care. Be safe.